everyone, and welcome back to episode 3 of Sports Talk Trio. Today we'll be back to a normal episode discussing all the sports, baseball, football, basketball. So again, I'm Drew Pieschalski, joined by Sawyer Goldwein and Geno DeFrank. And now we're just going to get right into it. We're going to recap World Series games 1 through 3, and right now Game 4 of the World Series is going on. At the moment, the Texas Rangers are leading this series 2-1 after taking it to Arizona. And now we just pulled up the score. The Rangers are up 5-0 in the middle of the second inning, so it's looking like they're going to be up 3-1. So what are your guys' thoughts on this game so far, or this series so far?
Well, first of all, for tonight, my boy Brandon Fott, who I've always said is a bum, is playing like a bum tonight. I wouldn't be surprised if he got pulled already.
I think he pitched yesterday.
Did he
pitch yesterday? It was Mantiply today.
Oh, it's Joe Mantiply. He's a bum too.
Miguel Castro's
not good. But yeah, I mean, I've kind of been rooting for the D-backs. I thought it was looking better for them with Garcia and Scherzer axed from the roster, but they've been getting shut down a little bit ever since. So I'm not sure what's going to happen here. It looks like the Rangers will go up 3-1. A young team like the D-backs, I don't know if they can recover from that.
Yeah, but I also think they won't go away. You know, they're playing with nothing really to lose. You know, all those young guys. I like the Rangers are, I believe, 9-0 on the road this postseason.
Like
They haven't lost yet. I believe they're 9-0, which is remarkable. Corey Seager's been playing out unbelievable at the plate for them. So I think the Rangers are gonna probably pull this one out. I think Diamondbacks take it to 6. I think they're gonna make a little bit of a series of it though.
I could see that.
I could see 6, but I think the Diamondbacks are just outmatched. I think the Rangers do have some better pitching with Evaldi. I'm missing a guy in my head.
You're thinking of Jordan Montgomery.
Yeah, Montgomery. Yeah. I don't know why I was missing him, but Evaldi and Montgomery, they got them, and D-backs really just have Merrill Kelly. Zach Gallen hasn't been doing great, but Merrill Kelly's been shoving. So I think it's going to go to 6, as you said. I think Rangers win tonight, D-backs win, then Rangers take it back home and win Game 6.
Yeah, the other guy that's been big is John Gray out of the bullpen. He's usually a starter.
John Gray clutched up yesterday when Max Scherzer went out. Yeah.
He's been coming out in relief, and he's doing a great job, so he's been huge for them.
And now looking at some NBA, the big news in the NBA right now is James Harden has been finally traded to the Los Angeles Clippers. I personally think the Clippers fleece the Sixers. The Sixers, during this trade, gave up P.J. Tucker, Harden, and a bench guy. I forgot the guy's name. The Sixers got Marcus Morris, Nick Batum, Robert Covington, some pick swaps. But other than that, I think the Sixers got fleeced, getting not the greatest of the Clippers role players, but the Clippers did get Harden, obviously, which was the big part of the deal, and P.J. Tucker, which I think is a good part of that deal as well.
Yeah, I mean, I do think the Clippers did a good job hanging on to some of their better bench players with Norman Powell, Terrence Mann, Mason Plumlee. And I think on paper they won the trade, but as someone who just picked the Clippers to go to the NBA Finals, I think I feel worse about it now. Because when you look at their roster, they got 4 sort of stars. 3 of them are major playoff chokers. And plus, Harden is a major cancer.
Yeah.
So I don't know how I feel about that.
I think if you have to look at it from both teams' perspective, I think Sixers, I think it was good. You finally get something for James Harden because I think we all knew he was never going to do anything with them this year. So get some really good role guys, 3-and-D guys, and Covington and Batum, Marcus Morris, a great vet. KJ Martin was also included in the trade, I believe. Don't really know too much about him, but I think Sixers, you get something out of nothing because Harden was obviously not going to do anything for you guys this year. Clippers, it will be interesting to see how they play. I feel like it's either hit or miss, but I think you put Harden around guys who he's comfortable with. I think his ego will go down a little bit. Hopefully, as a Russell Westbrook fan, as myself, I want to see Russ succeed. I want to see him win his ring. This trade, I think they won. It will just be interesting. It's definitely going to take a lot to get used to. They play the Lakers, though, tomorrow night. Primetime. It'll be interesting. I doubt Harden plays, but if this team can stay healthy, it'll be interesting.
Yeah, I mean, I will say I do respect the way James Harden changed his game. I think that's like a rare example of a star. Kind of after he left Houston, he really became more of a facilitator, and he was okay with that. So I like that from him, but I just don't know if it's going to work down the stretch with all those kind of... I mean, I don't want to say washed up, but none of them are quite in their prime anymore. So I think on paper this looks a little bit better than it is.
I think Paul George and Kawhi are still in form of their prime. I think they can get back to
George
the best.
I think Paul George is.
But you also have to see that Russ has changed his game too. His style.
Yeah.
He's becoming a slasher only, doing the dirty work, playing defense, getting offensive rebounds. He's really doing it all. So I think if everyone can push their ego aside, I think they can stay a successful team.
Yeah, I love Russ, but I don't know. I think it's tough to beat Indiana Paul George in terms of prime.
Yeah.
And then Kawhi with his injuries, I wouldn't say prime anymore, but they're definitely going to be a contender.
I think the key to this team is actually their coach, Tyronn Lue. Because as you said, James Harden is definitely a cancer. When he went to the Nets, he was the problem on that team. He's obviously the problem on the Sixers. He's a grown man and can't really hold himself together. But I think Ty Lue, he's a veteran coach, won a championship with the Cavs. I think he'll be able to keep this team together and keep kind of a mojo there, even though like when he was in Cleveland, it was kind of the LeBron show, people thought. But he did keep that team together. Now, moving on to a different sport. Week 9 of college football happened this week. It was a pretty big week. There were 2 big upsets. First one being Kansas beating number 6 Oklahoma. And for me, the Oklahoma defense had looked very good this whole season, but just fell apart against Kansas. And I think this is a really big win for Kansas's program. They were known as one of the worst teams in FBS the past few years. About 5 years ago, they sucked. And there's that like joking video that they didn't shake Baker Mayfield's hand. He went absolutely off against them. And their coach is great, Lance Leipold or something. He's started to get some recruits out of Kansas itself, and I think that program is on the come up.
Yeah, about this game, I was watching it. It just seemed like whoever had the ball last was going to win. I thought, interesting stat from this game: 9 touchdowns in this game. Not one of them was passing. I believe there was 8 rushing touchdowns and a pick 6. Dylan Gabriel, though, did run for 3 touchdowns for Oklahoma. And Devin Neal had the 9-yard rushing touchdown with a minute left to go up. And then, of course, the KU fans took down the goalpost and put a part of it in the river down there in Lawrence. So that was fun to watch.
Yeah, I think this was a little bit of a return to kind of old school Big 12, even with Oklahoma on the way out. But obviously, like you said, a lot of rushing touchdowns, which isn't quite what you would expect. But I think for Oklahoma, it's looking a little scary now. They beat Texas. Everyone was high on them. Some people had them in the top 5. And then they almost lose to UCF, lose to Kansas. So not great for them, but Kansas is fun.
Yeah, they're fun to watch.
Yeah,
Very
they were
fun to watch.
Bad for a while, and then Lance Leopold gets there, puts together a fun team. So I think I'll be watching them the rest of the season. I don't know if they'll be great, but they should be definitely a must-see TV.
Yeah.
Now moving on to some Pac-12 action, a 10 p.m. game on Saturday night. The Arizona Wildcats beat number 11 Oregon State. This is a very tough loss for Oregon State, as they were maybe looking to push for a college football playoff. It probably wasn't going to happen, but they probably could have gotten a New Year's Six bowl. But now they're definitely out of that contention as well. I think Arizona is a very underrated team. Looking at some of their stats, they only lost to University of Washington 31-24. They lost in OT by 2 points to USC on a horrible play call to end the game. And they absolutely demolished Washington State 44-6. So I think they're a team to look out for. I mean, they were absolutely awful last year. So maybe they're also on the rise in the Pac-12.
Yeah, you kind of just stole my point. 5-3, all 3 of those losses are one-score losses, as you said. Washington and USC, also to a good not good, but solid Mississippi State team, and I believe the second week of the season. Noah Fifta, the freshman QB, threw 3 touchdowns for Arizona in that game. That game was also a home game in Tucson. But Arizona playing a little bit of the spoiler role so far in the Pac-12.
Yeah, you kind of stole my flow a little bit with Noah Fifita, but he did not start the season as a starter, and he's been really solid ever since coming in.
Is he redshirt, or is he true?
Man, I don't know if he's redshirt.
I know he's a freshman. I don't know if he's redshirt or
He's
true.
He's a redshirt, so not a true freshman, but he's had kind of a gauntlet of a schedule.
Mm-hmm.
His first game of the season as the starter was versus Washington. Then he gets at USC, at Washington State, and then back home against Oregon State. So that's a tough schedule, and he's been
to
doing
come
a
out
good
of that
job.
2-2.
2-2
Kudos to
is
Arizona.
great.
They're sitting at 5-3 too.
Not bad. And he had 3+ touchdowns in 3 of those games, so he's been really good. I'll be honest, I watched this game half asleep for most of it, so that's about all I got for that. But Arizona teams in general have been fun. We'll get to Arizona State a little later in the episode, but any team in Arizona is going to make it a game.
Looking at some Big Ten football, this was my upset pick last week. Number 10 did hang on against University of Indiana. 33-24 was the final. And the haters finally shut up. Drew Aller had an amazing game. I think he's going to be the number 1 overall draft pick in 2025. He's the best quarterback. He's insanely talented. Threw for 20, went 20th for 31, 210 yards, 3 touchdowns. He did throw his first interception of the season, but that's all right. I think the Penn State defense is a little overrated. They did give up 24 points to Brendan Sorsby in the Indiana offense, which is...
They gave up 2 passing touchdowns of 69 and 90 yards.
Wow, yeah, that's not
I love
not
the hand
great.
raise.
Just had to throw that out there because everyone's big on the Penn State defense being the best in college football. I just had to throw that out there that Indiana should not be doing that to you.
I feel like Indiana's a little underrated, though. They have played
Stop.
They played a gauntlet. They played a gauntlet.
They're still terrible. They're still
I think
just because you're playing good teams doesn't mean good for them. They hung in one game.
If Butler goes out and plays the entire SEC, we're not good enough to be in the SEC. Yeah, I mean, I didn't get to see this game, but my only real thought here is Penn State almost broke the streak, the undefeated streak against teams besides Michigan and OSU. So I don't know. I don't know about Drew Aller being the number 1 overall pick either. It feels too far in advance to pick, but that seems like a stretch to me.
For sure.
Sorry.
Let's move on to number 1 Georgia holding on against Florida. Huge rivalry game.
I wouldn't say it's holding on.
Holding
on
on
by 23 points.
It was close at the start of the game. Florida was up. They scored first. I thought Carson Beck actually looked pretty solid. 315 yards, 2 touchdowns. Big fact in this one is that Florida just lost the second and third quarter terribly. They were outscored 26-0 in the second and third quarter. At that point, you're not going to find yourself in the game against the number 1 team.
Yeah, Carson Beck, I had my doubts about him. He did play pretty well against the Florida team. I picked Florida last week against Georgia, so this was a little bit of a surprise to me. But I thought he might get exposed a little bit with no Brock Bowers against a solid Florida team. He didn't, though, and Georgia's probably going to hold on to that 1 spot in the AP poll because of it. So really, I think if they run the table, they should be fine. But their season, to me, depends on whether Brock Bowers comes back.
Yeah, it looked like Carson Beck was fine without Brock Bowers, but I think Georgia's still a little overrated. I don't know how good Florida is. I haven't watched a lot of Florida this year, but Georgia did dominate them in the second half. But, I mean, Georgia is coming into a tough game this week. They're facing number 14, Mizzou, which I think they're number 12 now after the official CFP rankings. And Georgia is ranked 2nd now after the CFP rankings, and my Ohio State Buckeyes are ranked 1st. So, just like to point that out.
Those are some weird AP ranking or college football rankings. I'm not gonna lie.
For sure.
I think the committee doesn't really watch much football, from what I can gather. They kind of just look at the schedules and say, "Oh, they beat that team. They must be pretty good."
I'm not complaining.
I'm not either.
Moving on to the most disappointing team probably in the second half of this college football season, UNC falls to Georgia Tech, and they had 2 terrible losses. Georgia Tech, which is one of the bottom feeders in the ACC normally. And they
Virginia
lost.
Was worse.
Yeah, Virginia
was for sure.
Virginia was way worse.
Virginia was way worse.
This one was not good either. But as I've been saying, Drake May is overrated, and I think this program is in complete shambles.
I think it was more the defense let them down. The final score was in the 40s, I believe. It was a really back and forth game. For me, it was real weird to see Haynes King, the Georgia Tech quarterback, throw 4 touchdowns. Growing up watching the triple option, it was, you sometimes forget that Georgia Tech now doesn't run the triple option anymore, so.
Yeah, I'm not going to lie. I could not have told you who Haynes King was before this week. Honestly, I just looked that up right now. But, I can't really put this game on Drake May. As a big Drake May hater, he was fine. He wasn't anything special, which he really should be if he wants to be in the Heisman race or top 3-5 pick next year. This is clearly on the UNC defense to me. Giving up 46 points to Georgia Tech is embarrassing.
I think Mac Brown might need to go. I think he's getting up there, and
his hair's pretty white at this point.
I think it's time. I think it's time for him to be done. But looking at a program that might be on the downfall, we're going to move on to 2 programs that are back on the come up. Number 18 Louisville has no problem with number 20 Duke.
I don't want to talk about it.
Louisville gets a big win after a loss against Pitt, and I think that loss against Pitt was kind of a fluke game. I think Louisville's pretty good, and they were riding high in that Pitt game. But I think Duke is also good. Riley Leonard played hurt. I think Duke, when Riley Leonard returns next year, which he probably will, I think they're going to be maybe a sneaky New Year's Six bowl team.
I was gonna say, I think the one reason for optimism for me as a Duke fan right now is Riley Leonard might be playing his way, or not playing his way, but injuring his way out of the draft next year. So hopefully we can look forward to him next year. I don't think Duke will honestly be a dark horse next year if he comes back. I think everyone will see him coming.
They'll definitely be favored. A 9-win type of team. Yeah, he's playing out there 60%. They can't expect anything out of a QB playing 50, 60%. It's terrible. Duke only had 200 yards in the whole game. It was just terrible offensive performance. They got shut out too. So
Duke will probably have some recruits start coming in. Mike Elko's doing a great job over there. Going back to the Big Ten, we're going to move on to Ohio State, the new number 1 team in the country. Kyle McCord had a really rough game this past weekend on a primetime game, 7:30 against Wisconsin. He threw 2 picks and had 2 intentional grounding penalties. So the question I'm trying to propose is, can Kyle McCord lead number 1 Ohio State to the promised land? My answer is no. He's too one-dimensional. He's very talented, but he relies too much on Marvin Harrison Jr. He has so much. I mean, you have Emeka Ibuka, Julian Fleming, he's whatever, Carnell Tate, and Marvin, but he obviously relies on Marvin way too much, and Cade Stover. Don't forget about Cade Stover. He's the GOAT. But Emeka Ibuka has done absolutely nothing this year, in my opinion, and I think that's on Kyle McCord. He was just relying too much on Marvin Harrison Jr. I don't know. It's just, if he plays like that against Michigan, there's no chance Ohio State wins.
I'm not going to disagree, but I'm going to say he could potentially win a title with OSU for the sole reason that quarterback is not as important in college as it is in the NFL. We just saw Georgia win with Stetson Bennett. He pretty much, the consensus is he sucks.
I think Stetson Bennett is better than Kyle McCord, though.
I think Stetson Bennett is a little better than Kyle McCord, but he is nothing special. I think it's a lot easier in college to rely on your weapons because these top teams are so stacked with what they have. Now, Kyle McCord does need to do a better job of looking someone else's way besides Marvin Harrison Jr., but I think he could potentially do it. There shouldn't be the favorites or anything like that. CFP committee is tripping a little bit, putting them number 1. I don't think they're the favorites, but I think they could make a run if they need to.
I'm just a straight no. I don't need to give
That's
any
respect.
reason. Not now for McCord.
As we were talking about earlier, though, I think if Ohio State is still number 1 after the Michigan game and they do end up losing, I believe Ohio State will still make it to the playoff because that could just push them back to the number 4 seed or something, and that would make them still safe. They still have one of the best resumes, especially if they play Michigan close.
Especially if Pac-12, if a team doesn't come out of there undefeated.
Yeah.
If Washington suffers a loss, the committee respectfully doesn't like the Pac-12, doesn't really give them much respect, and especially if a one-loss team. I think Washington has, I believe, been the only team, and then Oregon, I think the first year when they lost to Jameis Winston.
Yeah.
But I think both those teams were undefeated. I don't think I've seen
Cincinnati made it a few years ago.
Also
Pac-12.
Oh, okay, Pac-12.
Pac-12 team.
Well, that's a good, besides SEC, Big Ten.
Pac-12
pretty much
usually
have to be undefeated. Same with, TCU in the Big 12 last year.
Let's move over. Also talking with the Pac-12 last game recap. We're gonna go to the Trojans. USC survived the Golden Bears of Cal, 50-49.
Embarrassing.
A little bit of a shootout here. Really just back and forth. Really entertaining game. I did not catch it because I didn't think this game would be anything. But 50-49, that's a shootout. That's a basketball score. So, what do you guys think about the game?
This is terrible. USC's defense just sucks. I mean, that's like a D2 defense. I feel like Butler could drop 30 points in that defense. That's definitely a stretch, but I mean, they're bad.
Yeah, Cal is 3-5 overall, 1-4 in conference. If you've never heard of Fernando Mendoza, you're probably not alone. That's Cal's QB.
Jaden Ott is their running back.
Jaden Ott went for 153 yards, 3 touchdowns.
Was that the game the protest was happening before?
Yeah, the protest happened. They actually,
halfway through the game.
They played, another thing is they played part of the first half after halftime.
I do remember that.
They went back and reviewed a play at the end of the half, went to halftime, and then had a field goal kick to end the first half. And immediately went into the second half. That was the most entertaining part of this game.
That's pretty weird.
We have no comments on the protest. Just to let everybody know, no comment.
I don't even know what they were about.
We're gonna switch over back to NFL. A little bit of Thursday Night Football recap. Bills beat the Buccaneers in Buffalo. Survived last second Hail Mary by Baker Mayfield, who has a cannon.
He
That was like a 60-yard.
Yeah.
He barely took a step into it, too. It was just a straight cannon. Controversial, PI. It's a Hail Mary. Everyone's going to hold. That was one of the worst holdings I've seen, but everyone holds on the Hail Mary. But that was bad.
But should they be allowed to? Because I don't know.
But you can't just change the rule for...
There's always going to be
you gotta
contact.
call it if it's there.
Yeah,
there's no rule that says PI doesn't.
But you're just
going
to put them at the 1 yard line.
I think the only way you can call it on a Hail Mary is if someone is literally dragged to the ground.
I mean, I can't remember which receiver.
The dude was like,
I understand.
Someone had two guys.
Someone was boxing out. Another dude was just
you are allowed to box out.
No,
head back to the ball, just two hands, just shoving this guy out the back.
One guy had a dude hanging on his left shoulder, dude hanging on his right shoulder. It was a mess. I will say, rough. I mean, like you said though, Baker has a cannon. That was a beautiful Hail Mary.
This man barely took a step to throw this ball.
He's got the longest recorded pass in the StatCast era.
Does he?
It was incomplete because he chucked it over the back of the end zone.
Yeah, someone like slammed their head into the goalpost.
Yeah. It was like 70 yards in the air though. It was crazy. But he does have a crazy arm.
If Chris Godwin just looked for the ball, they probably would have won. But
he looked for it eventually, but
it was on the ground.
Yeah, it was on the ground at that point.
Gino, would you like to talk about
I was looking at this. I didn't really want to get into it, but we'll talk about it. My Steelers, we dropped not a terrible loss. The Jags are 5-2, so obviously it's not a terrible loss. Thing I'm more worried about, Pickett goes down, rib injury. The refs in this game, first half, I've never seen Mike Tomlin really get mad about the refs, but if I may quote him, he said, "What the fuck is wrong with y'all today?" You can bleep, whatever, but Tomlin never gives excuses, and he looked bad. Deontay has a fine coming his way. He said something really bad about the refs after, but Minka also goes down, looked like a hamstring injury, so those are usually 3 to 6 weeks. They just stretch out. It was a rainy game. I believe we caused 3 turnovers. Lawrence didn't even look that good. That one interception he threw in the end zone was horrific.
Yeah.
It was terrible. Jags didn't even look that good.
It was a rainy game for both teams.
I would just like to send a message real quick to the Jags. And is it Joey Wingard, their safety? I forget his first name.
Andrew Wingard.
Andrew Wingard. You don't take the terrible towel out of the stands and wave it. I can get my mini one right now. No one's taking that out of my hand. I lost respect for the Yinzer who let that man take his flag. Because I would have absolutely slapped the shit out of that dude's helmet if he tried to grab it. He was waving it, and it was so funny. They cut, they were showing him wave it. And then they switched the camera to him on oxygen. And it was so funny. But, yeah, this game, terrible. Congrats to the Jags. They've won 5 straight. They look pretty good, honestly. But no excuse. Lost the home game.
I think the Steelers need to bulk up that offense. I wrote on my sheet right here that I think if they get a stellar offense, they could honestly contend for a Super Bowl. I hate to say that because I absolutely despise the Steelers, but their defense is very legit. TJ Watt's the best defensive player in the league, in my opinion. And what?
I'm just happy to hear it.
Yeah, it's hard to say, but it's the truth. But they need to fire Matt Canada first, and I think that's the first thing that starts, which I hope they don't do as a Browns fan.
Dude, I feel so bad. I was on Twitter this morning, and obviously it was Tuesday morning. They're interviewing Matt Canada outside.
Oh, he hit the phone.
He didn't even do it. Someone's phone was on a table, getting the audio, and it fell, and he was like, "I didn't touch that. I didn't touch it." He picked it up. He goes, "You're gonna find a way to somehow still blame it on me, though." And it was just so funny to hear it. So I feel bad for the dude's mental health, but other than that, he needs to get out.
I mean, at some point you got to do a better job. I feel like we can't talk about
his mental health. Got to be terrible now, though. To say that, it's just the dude's on a different thing.
I just it's to the point where you can't even say anything about the Steelers besides the fact that he sucks.
Yeah,
that's all I.
He's holding us back. He's holding us back. That's all I have to say.
He's bad.
We'll get to some more positive stuff. Panthers get first win of the Bryce Young era. Congrats to them. Pulled out an ugly one against Texans last second field goal.
Who could have predicted that?
I mean,
we'll get to my prediction.
Tavier Thomas, Browns legend, lost in the game.
That was
lining up off sides and then running into the holder.
Well, not only lining up off sides, but doing it twice in a row.
Yeah, exactly.
Which is unsportsmanlike.
What the hell are you doing?
Moves him up 15 yards.
I think he was the same guy that ran into the punter when we were playing the Jets.
To be fair, though, the second time he did it, actually a good move because dude made it anyway, but he had to re-kick it because there was a clear path to the kicker.
Oh.
So technically, he got him another shot for them to miss, but kind of got to be more disciplined than that at the end of the game.
It did seem like Bryce Young had his best game, throwing for 235 yards and 1 touchdown, but moving on to probably a better rookie quarterback this past week, Will Levis threw for 4 touchdowns in his first ever NFL action. I think it's pretty easy to tell for the Titans that they should start Levis this week.
They are.
They are?
Yeah.
All right.
What's their coach? Why can't
Mike Vrabel.
Vrabel, yeah, he named him a starter earlier today.
That's good.
I can't respect that. Dude puts mayo in his coffee. I still can't get over that.
Dude, I didn't even know that. That's actually wild.
It's upset. He also eats bananas with the peel on.
DeAndre Hopkins also went off that game, which I'm sure someone on this show right now is very happy about.
Somebody was playing against him in fantasy this week and thought he was going to get like 1 point because Will Levis was supposed to suck. But he did not.
Hey, congrats for Will Levis. Saw his girl left him in September after that. Wasn't getting any playing time, and he didn't go to what? The 4th round, was it?
3rd or 4th.
I thought it was the 3rd day, to be honest.
Second.
He
Where the
went.
hell did Will
It was.
Levis go
I think it was
in the
3rd round.
I think 3rd.
I don't know. I could have sworn he was like a 2nd-round pick.
He was late, dude.
Because he was supposed to be a 1st-round pick at one point. Yeah, he was a 2nd-round pick.
All right, still
No, 2nd round. So
good for him. Get back when
not as
he
big a
needs.
signing bonus.
That's true.
We'll move over to the NFC South now. Ritter went down, went to concussion protocol. They cleared him. They still kept a Heineke, and he got him the dub. I was glad for me to see because I love Taylor Heineke.
You got him the dub.
Oh no,
No,
I
they
forgot they
lost.
lost. But still, Heineke played good. Heineke played good, and you cannot disagree with that. That he
it was 12 for 21.
he should still be
He
playing
didn't throw
over
a
Ritter.
pick. Ritter
He
is
did not throw a
terrible.
pick. Yeah,
We can
Ritter is-
admit that
I
he's
completely
better than
bad.
Desmond
I
Ritter.
completely agree that Heineke should be starting.
Yeah, that's true.
If they get a quarterback, the Falcons are kind of legit, in my opinion. I mean, I saw they had Jonnu Smith throw a pass, and they had Kyle Pitts blocking someone on the same play. I think Arthur Smith is a good coach, but there is something going wrong in Atlanta. Shout out Cardale Hodge, too. 3 receptions for 75 yards.
That is classic Kadero Hodge, too. As
the
Browns fans, we watched him, just every catch he got was a first down. He only had like 10 in a season.
That's the GOAT
but
right there.
Every time he caught him, it was a big
Browns
play.
never should have released him.
The Rashid Shaheed of the Falcons.
Real. Moving on to someone else who didn't get benched, but he was out for the game. The Vikings won, but they lost Kirk Cousins. He tore his Achilles. And Jaron Hall, BYU alum. He played. He didn't do great. They still beat the Packers, which is good, but they do face the Falcons this week. So we'll see how Jaron Hall does. I don't think it's going to go well. I mean,
it's not a vote of confidence to trade for a QB immediately after that.
yeah.
That doesn't show much belief in Jaron Hall's ability.
BYU quarterbacks have not fared well in the NFL these
Yeah.
past couple of years as well.
I mean, name a good BYU quarterback ever.
Exactly. I rest my case.
Yeah. Sad news for our man Sterling. Vikings guy lost Kirk Cousins for the season. Definitely. Is it for sure?
Yes.
Oh,
it's
yeah.
torn.
Yeah. So unless it becomes like A-Rod, it looks like A-Rod could come back by if they make the playoffs.
Joe
or,
Douglas said today we expect him back.
That's
it's
crazy.
insane. It's insane.
It
I
must
don't
have
know
been
what
it
doctors
must
are
have
doing.
been a minor Achilles.
You can't have a minor Achilles
one of my
tear.
friends did have a minor Achilles tear.
All right, then it wasn't torn.
That's fraud, man.
Hey,
partially torn.
there's
then.
no way you can come back and push off your foot and throw with a
He's
torn Achilles.
already dropping back.
Yeah, he is. Yeah.
It's crazy. I respect it though.
Yeah, feel bad for Kirk though too.
Contract
year.
People
yeah.
think it's his last ever snap ever though.
I don't believe that. I think he'll come back, but he's
There's
definitely-
going to be a team.
He's
that
gonna get a
he
lot
can
less
find his
money
way
than
on
Come to the
to.
Browns. Come to the Browns. Please
No.
come to the
We
Browns.
don't want Kirk Cousins.
I'd rather have Kirk Cousins than
That's
Deshaun
so
Watson.
bold.
Well, yeah, but Kirk Cousins is like 37.
I don't care.
35. I don't
We have
think he's
PJ
that
Walker
old.
starting right now.
Well, yeah, that's not our fault though.
Uh,
Anyway,
Kirk
Eagles.
is 35. Yeah.
Kirk is 35. Okay. Elsewhere in the NFC, Eagles kind of struggled with the Commanders again. They went to OT with them the first time they played this season.
Commanders are underrated. You just hate.
Commanders are no. I picked the Commanders to win this game.
Yeah, but
I
you
almost-
just
I almost
you
did
hate
too.
on Sam Howell.
Sam Howell sucks.
Sam
And
Howell's
He's
like-
not.
he
He's
went
not
to
the
UNC,
solution. I
so
don't know if
I'm
he's the
obligated to name him.
solution.
He's not the solution, but he's gonna help
But he's
them
a
out
good
for the future.
Yeah, he's
I
been
would-
playing good.
I will say his O line is insanely bad.
Yeah, I mean, he's
Yeah.
taken so many sacks.
But he still sucks.
I have to disagree.
You don't have to.
I don't know about sucks.
I know people just call Sam Howell Fat Baker Mayfield, but I mean,
That's just because they look
Hey,
like
he is underrated.
Joey Sly kicked that 61-yarder
That was
Joey Sly
at
is
the end of the
coming
first
back,
half.
dude.
That was money. Kinda. He's a lay off the Golden Corral. Shout out Dad, for real.
One Popeye's biscuit away from being a tight end.
Yeah.
Eddie Lacy. Like a Popeye's biscuit away from being an offensive guard. We're going to move on to the Colts. The Colts offense has scored 20-plus in each game. And why do we think that's possible? For me, I think, and still lose. They're 3-5. They got 27 points this past game and lost 35-27. First off, their defense is terrible. Please stop hating on Tony Brown, though. Tony Brown did nothing wrong. I mean, I know he allowed about 150 yards on 3 receptions for Rashid Shaheed, but he did not do anything wrong.
I gotta be honest. Who is Tony Brown?
He's been receiving a lot of hate this past week because he allowed a lot of yards for Rashid Shaheed.
Okay. Well, Rashid Shaheed's just like that, though.
He is like that.
Wasn't he? Didn't you have him
He was
in?
Drew's start.
Yeah. Drew's
But
start.
I was the first one to talk about him.
Yeah.
I said Rashid Shaheed is my guy.
Yeah, I don't think the Colts defense is very good, but I think their offense is really good. They have a good scheme. They run a lot of RPO, which works. I feel like every time it just works, and everyone's always open. They scored on it again. Michael Pittman Jr. did. And they have 2 great running backs and a decent receiving core and a pretty good O-line, but I think if they got Anthony Richardson back, that would definitely help them, having the ability to have a scrambling quarterback.
Hey, don't doubt Minshew's legs.
I'm not doubting Minshew's weight. Just wait till
Minshew's a dog.
Wait till we get
Everyone
to
here can agree with that.
He's a dog.
That's
Wait till
fair.
we get to our start sits.
I will say, though, I think the Colts O-line is actually a little underrated. I think after Quentin Nelson fell off a little bit, everyone kind of stopped giving them credit. But I struggle to believe Zach Moss is actually a good running back. There's no other reason he would randomly be good on the Colts and not the
I think
Bills.
you're just saying that because you always leave him on your bench.
I am mad about that, but he was bad on the Bills, and he came over to the Colts. He's suddenly good. So I think that O-line is really the reason. So having that great run game is definitely helpful for having that offense. But I think it's more about the O-line than the running backs.
How about Tua becomes the first quarterback to win more than 5 games against Bill Belichick?
5 games in a row. That's my bad on the notes.
Oh,
but
5 games in a row. I was going to say, I
Yeah.
think someone's got to have 5
I
wins
scammed it
against
a little bit there,
Belichick.
Wow.
But 5 in a row, I feel like in this day and age, that's not saying much. The Patriots have sucked the last 2 years. They have been terrible. So, but Tua, he's looked good. I think he's getting more comfortable. Hopefully for him, he just stays healthy. Hopefully his career keeps going.
Yeah, that game was closer than it should have been, if we're being honest. The Patriots were in it for a little bit, but I think the Dolphins ended up winning pretty comfortably. Tua, I still don't know about Tua, honestly.
Yeah.
It's so tough to judge a guy who has Tyreek and Waddle as his weapons, but you can't hold that against him.
Yeah.
Shout out to Ryan Pieschalski, my brother, back home. He's going to be listening, but he says Tua's overrated. I kind of agree after that. I think he's kind of carried by the play calling and receivers. I mean, he is the literal fastest team in football. Tyreek Hill, Mostert, A-Chain when he's back. Literally everyone, and Jalen Waddle. He doesn't have a great O-line.
I don't know if Kenny Pickett could get those guys the ball, though, to be honest.
I think, well, Matt Canada would screw him
But,
up.
I think we can all admit, Tua is I'd say he's a top 15 quarterback, probably around 12 or 13.
Yeah.
I don't think he's a top 10 guy.
He might,
But I don't think he's a bottom half.
I would put him top 10. But
You would?
I know people have him in the MVP
Yeah,
race.
but definitely towards 8, probably. I don't think he's anything better than that, to be honest.
I feel like Tyreek Hill deserves a shot at the MVP this year, honestly.
I do too.
Yeah.
Same with McCaffrey.
I also saw a Jason Kelsey argument, which is interesting. Actually, that brings me to one I didn't put in the notes, but I want to touch on it real quick. Commanders stopped the tush push.
The Commanders stopped everything.
Oh, yeah, no.
They stopped the tush push, and then the Eagles came back down the field later, ran a fake tush push.
No, that play was smooth.
So you
for
can
sure.
stop that. You can't stop the fake. But that was interesting to me. I still think the tush push should not be banned, but
Yeah, I
That's
agree
just
with
me.
you. It's part of football. Stop it. Get low. Put your hand in the dirt and just stop.
or
Yeah.
I keep saying it, push the defense.
Yeah.
Push your big D linemen. Put
Mhm.
11 D linemen on the field if it's on the goal line,
Yeah.
and just have them push each other
11
and try and
D-linemen,
outpush them.
alright. I'll just run my bootleg.
Yeah, I
when
mean-
Chubb is chasing me.
Maybe leave a couple corners out there, but
Yeah.
I mean,
No,
try
I get what you
something new.
mean. You equalize it. Do the same
Yeah.
thing back. So we're gonna move over to Cowboys, they bounced back to beat the Rams in kind of a blowout. Stafford goes down with an injury, looking like day-to-day for the Rams. So Cowboys look good, moved to 5-2, maybe 6-2.
Yeah.
2-loss team, but they're going to go up against the Eagles this week. So back to usual Cowboys stuff. They lose to real opponents, but they handle business against the terrible teams.
Yeah,
what do you guys think about this?
That's pretty much classic Cowboys. I still don't know what's going on with their offense. I think losing Kellen Moore over the offseason really hurt them. But like you said, they take care of things against bad teams. They look bad against good teams. That's kind of what they do. They'll make the playoffs. They'll go out early. Just another season for them.
I honestly thought this game was going to run around or go in the Rams' favor because we were watching the start of the game and Dak just kept taking sacks.
It was bad.
What the hell is he doing out there? But eventually they got like a flag, moved up the field, scored a touchdown. So that kind of bursted them. But the Rams just could not cover the Cowboys receivers. CeeDee Lamb went crazy. I think he had 170 yards, I think 2 touchdowns and like 9-10 receptions.
Shout out to Sammy for that.
Yeah.
He's a big CeeDee Lamb guy. Love our transitions today. We're doing great with that.
No, I just sighed because I saw this our next one.
Yeah, next we're gonna talk about the Browns' depression a little bit. They had the game against the Seahawks and PJ Walker choked it out.
Run the ball.
It was only a matter of time until we kind of fell off with PJ Walker. We weren't going to be undefeated with him, but I think it was like 3rd and 3 around midfield, like 2 minutes left. Browns up, and they throw the ball for some reason. Stefanski, I'll give him credit. Really good play calling in these 3 games with PJ Walker. He's made stuff happen when it really shouldn't happen. Including in that Seahawks game, he had like a flip play to Njoku, some really creative stuff. But just run the ball. It's 3rd and 3, you're up. Don't put the ball in your backup QB's hands.
First off, Jerome Ford is open in a check down on that pass play too. Needs to throw it there and maybe not throw it into a player's literal helmet. And then Jim Schwartz, don't run soft zones on the last defensive drive of the game.
That's what got Joe Woods fired.
Exactly. I mean, there was a Noah Fant out route that he ran 5 yards past the sticks. Or not past the sticks, but 5 yards. It was 1st and 10. And he runs to like the 20-yard line, and they're on the 40, a 20-yard reception that should have just been a 5-yard gain. Absolutely ridiculous play calling by Jim Schwartz. I love Jim Schwartz. He's definitely helped out this defense, but it's pretty ridiculous how they ended the game.
Yeah, I mean, and the other thing, you said it with the check down on that play, but PJ Walker might be the worst quarterback I've ever seen at taking his check downs. Like, I don't consider myself an X's and O's guy for football, but every play, I'm like, man, you got the guy in the flat, you got the check down, and he just never takes it. His eyes are just locked in downfield.
I respect it, but at the same time, you need to look somewhere else, man.
You guys get everything off your chest from this one. I was, for the Steelers, you guys kind of just let me take the floor, and I kind of went on my
it's okay.
5-minute rant.
I kind of was expecting us to lose that game. If we lose the Cardinals this week, we will rant.
Yeah,
especially with Clayton Tune starting.
We were expecting a loss, but I don't know.
I love how I picked them to win.
Yeah, well, we knew better.
Yeah.
It's just one of those things.
We're going to move back over. As we said, 3 games going on with AFC North and NFC West teams. Big one here, battle of 2 teams that lost in their conference championships last year with the Bengals and Niners. Bengals on a 3-game win streak, I believe, right now. Are the Bengals contenders or pretenders?
I'm going to go with contenders on this one. I don't want to say it, but I think Burrow's healthy now, and that's really the difference with this team. I still wish you would throw to T. Higgins more on my fantasy team. But other than that, the Bengals have looked a lot better lately. They're stringing together wins. And it kind of felt like at the beginning of the season it wasn't them. And I think the obvious answer to that is Joe Burrow's injury. So I have to imagine he's a lot healthier now, and they'll be good for the rest of the season.
Joe Burrow's definitely healthy. I think it's just going to become a Bengals tradition to start every year 0-2 or 0-3, which is definitely unfortunate for them. But, I mean, their receivers are playing well. The O-line's actually playing well, which is surprising. Defense is playing well. And pretty big win against the 49ers, who have been struggling.
Yeah, I have the Bengals as contenders, too. I really never thought they were deeply in trouble. I think they were always going to eventually bounce back. Also, now on the losing side of things, what's really going on with the 49ers? Is there any reason to start to concern? Obviously not now, what they just traded for Chase Young, and their defensive line is now him, Boza, Armstead, and Javon Hargrave. So, honestly, there's probably no reason to panic, but what is kind of going on with that offense? Are people figuring them out, or is it just the lack of There's no Debo now. There's no Debo playing. McCaffrey was kind of banged up, scored another rushing touchdown, of course, but what's really going on there?
I think Purdy, I don't know. I think teams are starting to figure Purdy out or the Shanahan offense, but I think they're figuring Purdy out. Maybe give Darnold a shot. I think he's got a lot of talent still. Remember last year, Panthers, they went on a win streak at the end of the season. He led them on that win streak with absolutely no one around him.
I honestly don't care. He's so bad.
I think Sam Darnold is...
What did I just hear?
I think Sam Darnold is criminally underrated.
Did you just say he deserves to start?
He deserves a shot.
I have a much better answer for this.
Yeah.
And that is Brock Purdy is concussed.
Yeah.
This dude was grabbing his head after he got on the ground, like Tua last year.
Exactly.
Never
Darnold
got
a
pulled
shot.
out of the game. But also, I have this stat. I think it was CBS Sports posted this on Instagram. Brock Purdy went leading in the second half, 74% completion, 8-0 touchdown to pick ratio, 129.5 passer rating. When tied or trailing in the second half, 60% completion, 3 touchdowns, 7 picks, 72.2 QB rating.
Yeah.
So I think this is a guy that's just kind of been coasting for the past season or so with this crazy supporting cast.
For sure.
And he hasn't really had much adversity coming from behind. Like the one game people pick out that he was behind, he was out because it was the playoff game, the NFC Championship. So I think he has to learn a little bit how to come from behind the NFL. And that'll come with time, but you don't bench him for Sam Darnold.
Yeah.
If he has a concussion, then bench him. I'm not saying give Darnold the rest of the season.
If he's concussed, get him off the field.
Exactly.
Let's get to my favorite part right now. So you can go back to last week's episode when we did our predictions. And I predicted the Broncos to pull off this upset
I don't know where.
in Mile High against Mahomes. I called it, what was the final? 19, 14?
Some random score.
23-9 or something.
23. I think they scored.
It was 24-9.
24-9. Snow was coming down before the game. They had to get it off the field. Mahomes wasn't ready for the snow. Still living the Hollywood life.
He threw 2 interceptions, not even a single
I think in the
touchdown.
first quarter, too.
Yeah.
They were early, too. And, they got down. Broncos defense, as I told you, for whenever you get into their territory, they become like the Steelers, 1980 defense, the steel curtain, basically. I don't know what it is. I felt this pick. I got it. I think I deserved a hand a little bit, to be honest.
That is applause worthy. We'll give you that one. I will say the Broncos defense is like bipolar or something because you can't give up 70 to the Dolphins and then just hold Mahomes and the Chiefs to 9. That's wild. Besides that, though, then we had a great Sunday night game. A little Chargers-Bears featuring Tyson Bagent for the second straight week. Is there anything to talk about here?
No.
I think this was just, it was like, Herbert, it had to be like the least amount of views ever for a Sunday night football game.
Herbert looked great.
He should.
Exactly.
I think he should. I think there's nothing really to talk about there. The Monday night game, a little bit entertainment. I was watching a little bit of it. The Lions bounced back, beat the Raiders. Devontae Adams just looks like he's not. It's not even that he's having fun. He doesn't even look like he's enjoying. He's not even really involved in the offense. Garoppolo can't even get him the ball. He missed him wide open twice.
So you gotta get it.
Super wide open.
I will say the O-line both times.
Oh, they're
every
horrendous.
Every time Devontae's open, the O-line breaks down for some reason. Those two just don't sync up. But I guess the question is Devontae going to be a Raider next year?
No way. If Josh McDaniels leaves, then maybe. But other than that, I'm not. Probably not.
Yeah, I would have to agree. I think he came to Vegas for Derek Carr, and then Derek Carr dipped on him after a year. And now
Derek Carr didn't dip on him. Al Davis dipped
Al Davis
on him.
quit on Derek Carr, but Derek Carr left regardless.
Yeah.
And he kind of... Devontae got hung out to dry by that.
Shout out Derek Carr for going his own way.
Yeah, that's respectable.
Good for him, yeah.
The other thing is Jahmyr Gibbs looking great for the Lions. I gotta wonder if David Montgomery's role is going to be the same.
They're finally getting Gibbs the ball, which is great. Great for him, for sure.
I don't know what that split's going to look like when Montgomery's healthy again. I wonder if Gibbs is going to take over.
I think you got to roll with him right now. Gibbs is hot. He had a lot of good runs last night. He's running downhill, You got to just... Rookie running backs. There's really nothing better in the world than a rookie running back.
I'm looking at Jerome Ford when you say running downhill. This dude loves to go east-west. He's always looking for the hole, and he just never finds it.
Going back to that Jerome Ford thing, I don't know why they put him in, because Kareem Hunt was going off that game.
Apparently we weren't done ranting.
Dude, it happens, dude.
Kareem Hunt was going off. He was upset after the game. I think if you're going to just sit Jerome Ford, even though you're going to say he's going to play, and then put him in the fourth quarters, one of the dumbest things ever, but whatever. Do your own thing, Kevin.
We're going to move over to our college football prediction picks. Last week, me and Drew both went 4-5, as
Take that.
Sawyer went 3-5. I overall lead at 8-9. Drew's in second at 7-9, and Sawyer is 5-9. He's struggling in college. He's got to get a groove. We're going to start first game. We're going to start with Kansas State at Texas. I am taking Texas in this game. I kind of just like it because it's in Austin. I think Kansas State's a good team, but I think the home field factor will take place for Texas.
Yeah, I'm going to agree here. Kansas State has only played one ranked opponent. That was Missouri, who is very good this season. And they only lost by 3, which is promising. So I think they have a chance. I think it'll be a game, especially with Quinn Ewers, I believe, out for Texas.
I believe so, yeah.
So that's going to be big for them. But I'm going to take Texas here to roll over Kansas State.
I'm going to take Kansas State. Get on the Kansas State hype train with me. Will Howard's a dog, Kansas State quarterback. He was a dog last year, too. Let's see him maybe a little underrated, 4th-round pick this year or something. But with Ewers out, I don't see Texas winning. I think Texas is still a little overrated, but go Wildcats.
It happens.
Go Wildcats.
Then we're going to move on to LSU at Alabama. In this one, I'm going to go ahead and take Alabama. I don't think this game's going to be that close, honestly. I know LSU is like 13th in the country, and they did just win 52-0.
62.
62.
And Army.
I'm blind,
Army.
but yeah.
Say the team before the score.
The key is it was against Army. I don't know if they'll really have an adjustment period going back to Bama because, I mean, they've been playing SEC teams all year. But November, Nick Saban, I mean, when you get down the stretch, Alabama's tough to beat. I don't think LSU is going to be the team to do it.
Brian Kelly's teams are pretty bad in these big games, so I think, as you said, it's kind of going to be a Bama just roll over LSU. Bama's getting hot right now. They're playing great, and I think they could maybe just maybe make a push at college football playoff if they win the SEC championship.
I like Bama big. Nothing else really around this. We're going to go to the other big SEC game now in the SEC East. I actually just changed my pick in this Missouri at Georgia game. I liked how good Georgia looked last week. I think they're playing with some upside right now, so I'm going to take Georgia at home against Mizzou.
I'm going to take another upset. I'm taking Mizzou. Luther Burden is the second best wide receiver in college football for Mizzou. I think Brady Cook's an underrated quarterback. I think Mizzou's defense is okay. They got to play. They got to play good this game. They got to be on their shit. But I mean, I think Mizzou can easily win this game. The only problem, not the only problem, but it is in Athens, which is going to be a hard environment to play in. But give me Mizzou on a game-winning field goal.
Yeah, I'm going to go with Geno here. I thought I was going to be alone, but I'm going to go ahead and take Georgia. I doubted them last week against Florida. I thought Florida was going to take them out. But Carson Beck looked solid. Obviously, no Brock Bowers is tough. But Missouri, I think, like you said, Athens is a tough environment. Missouri's toughest environment this year has probably been at Kentucky, which
that game was not sold out.
Yeah,
most
that's
definitely.
That's not much of a comparison to a Georgia crowd. So I think they might struggle with that. I don't think this game's going to be close. I think Kansas State's going to keep it close. LSU is not going to keep it close. Missouri not going to keep it close.
Yeah. By the way, Missouri only lost by 4 to Georgia last year at home. So I'd just like to point that out.
Yeah, Missouri, I think they're a good quality team. I think they're on the right track right now in the SEC. I just don't think they pull this one off. So we're going to move over to in-state rivalry game right now. Last ever in the Big 12. This will turn into just probably maybe an end-of-the-season game or maybe an early-season game with Oklahoma at Oklahoma State. Game is in Stillwater. Anytime I think of Stillwater, I just think of all the fans. They hold those sticks and they bat them on the pads. It's just a memory. I don't know why I have it. I believe this is a night game. Every sign is leading to an Oklahoma State victory. I was right away, Oklahoma State. I like how they've been playing of late. Oklahoma looked they're coming off the loss. Yes, they might have some motivation, but I like Oklahoma State in this one for sure.
I'm going to take Oklahoma. There's no way they lose another game. Brett Venables is an insane coach. I mean, he's going to rip into them this game. I think they're going to honestly blow out Oklahoma State and Stillwater. They're going to not blow out, but they're going to shut those fans up. And they're coming off a tough loss to Kansas, who they usually should own, but I don't think they drop one here, especially to their rival.
Oklahoma's looked shaky lately. Obviously, they lost to Kansas, almost lost to UCF. Whereas Oklahoma State's looking good. They got 4 straight wins. They beat Kansas, who, again, Oklahoma just lost to, and Kansas State. So that's 2 ranked wins in their past 4. I'm rolling with Oklahoma State on this one. It's going to be a battle.
Yeah, I think it's going to be a close game. I like to mention it is not a night game. It is a 3:30 game. The only thing you can really point out about Oklahoma State is how did they lose 33-7 to South Alabama. But we're going to stay away from that one. We're not going to get into it.
Yeah, we'll avoid that. Let's just pretend that didn't happen.
We're going to rock with our Oklahoma State pick. Everything's leading to that. Switch over out west. Washington at USC. It looks like we have a clean state here. I'm going to take Washington. USC, that defense is just too shaky. Yes, Washington has looked shaky too. Back-to-back struggle games. But I think they're going to get their act together and they're going to win this one.
I'm going to be honest. I don't know why we even picked this game. This is not going to be close.
It's a ranked game.
There's a ranked team in it. Washington is going to blow them out of the water. I just don't see USC being any good at all. That's all I got to say about that.
My prediction for this game is a 56-14 win for Washington, and that's all I have to say. It's not even going to be close. If the USC defense allows 49 points to Cal Berkeley, I don't think they're going to be able to allow less than 40 points to the Washington Huskies, who arguably have the best offense in college football.
Yeah, with that, we're going to move over to our upset pick of the week. So I'm going to start us off. I have Arizona State, 11-point underdogs over number 18 Utah. For me, Arizona State, I talked about this last episode, mentioned them earlier. Arizona State just gives everybody a game. I think at the very least they'll cover the spread, but I think they have a great shot at winning this one. The key is going to be they have to get ahead early because their quarterback, Trenton Bourguet, is not good, to be honest. But they do have Cameron Skadwood at running back. Why are you laughing at Cameron Skadwood?
He just has a funny name.
Okay. He's good. He's really good.
He is good.
He's like, I don't think I've ever heard someone say they're like all over the field on offense. That's usually like a defensive thing, but he really is. So I think if they get ahead and they can just kind of pound the ball with him, obviously a few screens, got to keep the pass involved, but just keep giving him the ball. If they get up early, Utah could be in trouble. And Utah has also lost 2 of their last 4. Now, granted, that was to Oregon and Oregon State. Not bad losses. But that close game against a really bad USC team at this point makes me worried. So I'm going to take Arizona State over Utah.
For my upset pick, I'm going to take Mizzou over Georgia. Mizzou is plus 15.5 right now over Georgia, and I think that's probably solely because of the fact that game is in Athens. I think at the least that Mizzou will cover the spread in this one. I think they're going to make it close. Even if they lose, I think it's going to be within 10 or 7 points. Probably a one-possession game. But I think Mizzou definitely really has a chance to win this game if they come out and play their best possible football.
So we're going to get to my pick. There was a lot of changing back and forth between this pick. I didn't really like any of the games. I didn't want to take Pitt back-to-back weeks, so I stayed away from that. But look out for the Panthers at home after Narduzzi just basically sold the program with his comments after the game. Basically was like, I thought I recruited good players, but obviously they weren't good enough to replace the ones in the past. That was bad. I don't know if anybody saw some of the guys on the team had some remarks they stated on Twitter that were just not really good. So I stayed away from Pitt. I was then going to the UTEP route over Western Kentucky. I stayed away from that one. Looked at the lines today. BYU -10. I believe it's is it in Morgantown? They're playing West Virginia in Morgantown, night game. WVU's looked up and down this year. I don't think there's a reason they should be favored that much. And BYU, organized football team. I got BYU winning this one.
You didn't even mention your Jacksonville State adventure.
Oh, we don't need to get into that one against. They were playing South Carolina. I had a lot of changing my mind. It was not going to go well. I'm going to lose. They're not winning for sure, but this was definitely the best leftover bet I had.
By the way, if you just saw me and Drew make a face, because the Rangers are up 10-1 in this game now. It's the end of the 4th inning. So that game is over.
There's going to be a position player pitching in a World Series game.
Yeah, that'll be cool for them. Good for them.
Yeah.
Anyway, we're going to move on to our college football top 5s for the week. I'm going to go first because mine is insanely boring this week. I have no movement. So I have Georgia 1, just beat Florida. I just don't see a reason to move them down at this point. I got to let them stay there until they prove me otherwise. Number 2 is Michigan. They run a bye. Can't move them down for that. 3 is Ohio State. They got the win at Wisconsin. Did not look good. We mentioned this earlier. On paper, they're arguably the best team in football. If you watch the games, they're not that great. But for now, they're undefeated. So they're number 3 for me. 4 is Washington, coming off a win at Stanford. If they look even remotely shaky against USC, I'm going to move them down. Because that's just unacceptable at this point with the way USC's looked. But for now, they're 4. And then 5 is Florida State, coming off a win at Wake. And then, like Geno said, they will play at Pitt this week.
Yeah, not really much movement in my top 5 either. I have Michigan staying number 1. I think they've looked the best team in football. Maybe not on paper, but I think they've looked the best. Ohio State staying at 2. I think a lot of people, I expect it to be a battle out in Madison. If you looked at their last 5 games, they've been really tough games out there. So, and they won by 2 scores, so I have them staying at 2. Georgia, I have them going up to 3rd. Washington now going down to 4th after looking really shaky. And Florida State staying at 5. I think they're gonna be sneaky. I think Florida State's a team to look at the end of the year, and they might be. They could be playing a college football championship game. So that's my top 5.
My top 5 is gonna stay pretty similar. I got Georgia at 1, coming off that 43-20 win over Florida. It's hard not to put them there again. They haven't lost a game in like who knows how long. I got Ohio State at 2, moving up just above Michigan. I just don't think Michigan has played as many people as Ohio State has, so I'm just going to put them 1 ahead. Michigan at 3, again, they haven't played as much, but J.J. McCarthy has looked great this year. Number 4 is Florida State. I think they're definitely a top 4 team. I was kind of saying they were overrated at the beginning of the season because they played Boston College and Clemson close, but I think they're pretty legit. Keon Coleman is one of the best receivers in football. Number 5 is Washington. I would really love to see Washington make it in the playoff. They're one of my favorite teams to watch. I mean, I feel like every 5 years they have a really good team, and next year they're probably going to suck. They have a lot of players leaving, so I'm just going to put them at 5, and hopefully they can make a push.
We're going to move now to our NFL predictions. Last week, Sawyer 9-7 with his picks. He's now 17-12 overall. He's tied with Drew, who's also 17-12. Drew, big week from last week, 11-5, and there's me at the bottom. I had a pretty solid week last week, 10-6, barely above 500 though overall at 15-14. We're gonna start with the Thursday night game. Titans in the Berg playing the Steelers. Will Levis will start. Kenny Pickett is gonna play. He basically told the media, "I don't care what the trainers say. I'm going to play." He didn't really care about that, so I'm gonna go with my Steelers. I think Thursday night games, the Steelers have a really good remark of playing them at home. We're really good. I just remember the only one that comes to mind, and I'm pretty sure it was against the Titans, is when they tried that overview of the field view for the whole game. I don't know if you guys know what I'm talking about 4 years ago.
It may have been the Panthers.
It might have been. Do you know what I'm talking about?
McCaffrey had like a big run at the beginning.
I don't know.
Game.
It was a Thursday night game, and they did like the view of like above camera. I don't know why I bring this up, but Steelers are winning. I'm gonna get us about a 10-point victory. I'm gonna say.
I don't know if that's that, but I'm gonna take the Titans here. I think Levis is gonna have a big game against the Steelers defense with Minka out. I think that's one of their better secondary guys, but
Joey Porter Jr. has been named the starter over Levi Wallace. So.
He had a rough preseason, but he's actually having a great regular season, which we see it in a lot of rookies these past couple of years with Jamar Chase, obviously. Wonder if these rookies are just doing that on purpose or something to defy some odds, but probably not.
I don't know about that.
They just got to get going, but Joey Porter Jr.'s look great. He's a dog. But I think this game actually is going to be really, really close. Titans did retain Derrick Henry. They did not trade him at the deadline, which some fans thought they would, but I'm actually kind of excited to watch this game. I don't think I've ever said that for a Thursday night game these past couple years, but yeah.
Not a big Commanders-Bears guy?
No.
Yeah, I'm going to go ahead and take the Steelers on this one, unfortunately. Minka is out for the Steelers, but the other big injury news for them, Cam Hayward, is expected to be ready to play. He hasn't played since week 1, so that's going to be a big lift for them. And for Will Levis, I just think Steelers defense, second start ever in his career, especially on prime time, is going to be tough on the road as well. So I think the Steelers are going to win this by probably like 10. I don't think it'll be too close. Then we'll move on to Game of the Year candidate in Germany for some reason. I mean, congrats to the German fans for getting this game. Chiefs-Dolphins. And I'm going to go ahead and take the Dolphins, not the Chiefs. I think the Dolphins, honestly, I don't have a lot of rationale behind this pick. This is just a gut feeling. But after watching the Chiefs' offense last week against the Broncos, I feel like even if it's a shootout, the Dolphins can hang with them for sure. So give me Tyreek and the Dolphins in a revenge game against the Chiefs.
I'm going to take the Chiefs. I think this is kind of like a 2019 Rams-Chiefs kind of game vibe.
I hope so.
Two star-studded offenses. We might not be able to watch because we have something to do on Sunday morning at 9:30, which is all right. We'll watch the highlights. But
where are you guys going?
We got some Butler
We got a
Sports
women's
Live.
volleyball game to go to.
Yeah, you won't see me there.
Yeah, so,
If you filled out your paperwork, you might be there.
I'll be there soon, man. Same thing with the Collegian. Push it back week by week.
Collegian, you're out for the semester.
completely besides the point. I'm taking the Chiefs in this one. I could see it being the game of the year, sort of like Rams-Chiefs, but I could see it being a sneaky defensive game. I don't know. I just have that feeling. The Chiefs always play good against star-studded offenses, I feel like, so we'll see how they do.
Chiefs by 2 scores. Chiefs by
Wow,
2 scores.
wow.
The Broncos woke them up. Mahomes is going to get his stuff together. Chiefs by 2 scores. We're going to move down to the 1 o'clock slate. Really good, I think, game right here. Seahawks at the Ravens. I'm going to take the Ravens. I just don't think the Seahawks are kind of just that caliber of a team to win this game. So I got the Ravens in this one. I think the Ravens stay hot.
I'm going to take the Ravens, too. I think they're a top 4-3 team in football. But I think the Seahawks are one of the not great 5-2 teams. They have a really, really good defense. It's phenomenal. But I think their offense is just okay. I just don't know. Geno Smith threw 2 picks against the Browns, which obviously the Browns have a great defense, but they were lighting them up at the beginning of the game. So I feel like this game kind of a toss-up, but I think the Ravens will win. I think Lamar Jackson's going to run all over the Seahawks defense.
Yeah, I'm going to agree. I think the Ravens have this one. The last couple teams to look bad against P.J. Walker's Browns lost the next week. The Seahawks obviously did get the win, which the Niners and the Colts didn't do. But it just didn't give me a lot of confidence in them moving forward against what's honestly a much better Ravens team. So I think the Ravens should have this one pretty easily. Then we're going to stay, again, with these divisional matchups. AFC North versus NFC West again. This time it's Browns, Cardinals. Browns at home on this one. I think this should be an easy win for the Browns. The word is Clayton Tune is going to be the starter for the Cardinals. They traded away Josh Dobbs. Kyler Murray probably not going to be ready to play yet.
Probably the following week.
So Clayton Tune going to get his first start on the road against a really good Browns defense. This just sounds like a train wreck, although as a Browns fan I should know better because this would be such a Browns thing for us to lose this game.
I think this game's going to be a lot closer than people think. I don't even think Clayton Tune's going to go off. I think some stupid stuff is just going to happen this whole entire game, and the Cardinals might have a lead for some points in the game, which would be unacceptable, but I think the Browns will pull this out. They better pull it out. I don't know what will happen to me if they don't. This might be, end of my fandom if that happens.
I think Cardinals are going to run James Conner heavy. He's going to see huge touches. I see kind of like a AFC North type of score. I got Browns 16-13. I'm calling the score too.
That'd be so
I really hope you watch a better game than that.
16-13. Browns pull this one off. We're gonna move down to the Buccaneers at the Texans. I feel like this is kind of a toss-up game. Both teams are around the same boat, but I see as we all, unless someone's changing, which could be happening.
Spell it.
All right, never mind.
Bucks.
But I'm gonna go with the
Spell.
Texans.
Just do Bucks.
I'm going to go with the Texans with my pick. I think C.J. Stroud has a good game for them. I think they're just going to... I think they need this one, and they know they're going to have to get it. I believe also they haven't lost back-to-back games all year, if I believe so. Yeah, they've lost... No, they've lost to the
openers.
Ravens and Colts, but since then, haven't lost back-to-back games. This game's also in Houston. So, also, the Texans won their last 2 games at home. So, I got the Texans winning this one. But it's going to be close. It's going to be a really good game, I think.
I think the Texans are also going to win this game, and it will be close. I just think the Texans might be the better team on paper, actually. Not on paper, just in general. But I think DeMeco Ryans will not let them lose another game after they just lost to the Panthers on a terrible, terrible loss. But I think C.J. Stroud will throw for about 300 yards this game, couple touchdowns. So give me the Texans in a close game.
Yeah, as you may have picked up on by me trying to figure out how to spell Buccaneers, I did just change my pick last minute there. I had the Texans, but when I think about it, Texans are a young team. I said this last week with picking Bryce Young to get his first win against them. And I think a young team, rookie head coach, rookie QB, they might struggle with bounce backs. So I think the Bucs are a more veteran team. I don't want to say veteran for Baker Mayfield because that makes me feel old. But Baker is a veteran QB at this point, and Todd Bowles is an experienced coach. So I'm going to take the Bucs with no confidence at all in a very low-scoring game over the Texans.
That game will definitely be. It will be interesting to watch.
It's going to be an ugly game.
Bears at Saints. Saints across the board. I don't think we need to go into detail here. I think we can just
Saints.
Yeah, Tyson Bagent is starting at QB again.
I think he's going to play all right, though. I don't think he's going to be terrible, but I think the Saints are going to put it on him for sure. We're going to move over to the Vikings at Falcons. I'm going to go with the home team here. Taylor Heineke, I believe, will most likely get the start, and I'm going to roll with the Falcons.
This is going to be a terrible game. I don't know what I'm doing here, but give me the Vikings, because why not? Let's ride with Jaren Hall for some reason. Hopefully he just force feeds Jordan Addison, TJ Hawkinson, and then maybe Heineke, if he starts, is going to be a little rusty, having not started a game in probably a year at this point. So I'll take the Vikings for a little win for Kirk.
I'm going to take the Falcons. I mean, Jaren Hall will not do anything this game. They're just going to hand the ball off, which their running backs aren't even good. So, I mean, I don't know. I think this game's going to be a blowout in Falcons' favor.
So we're going to move over to the Rams at the Packers. Game at Lambeau. Rams questionable about Stafford. That leaves me, I'm going to take the Packers at home in this one. Jordan Love, I think he's going to have a really good game.
Yeah, Jordan Love's been hot and cold this year. I really don't know how I feel about him at this point, but like Geno said, Stafford potentially out. I don't even know who the Rams' backup quarterback is.
Yeah.
Is it still Brett Rippon?
It is Brett Rippon.
Okay, I don't believe in Brett Rippon, unfortunately.
The Rams are going to win this game.
I don't know why I believe in Jaren Hall but not Brett Rippon, but that's just the NFL for you, so I'm going to take the Packers.
I think the Rams will win this game. The Packers actually suck. They're really bad to watch. They were one of the most boring teams to watch after going from one of the more fun teams to watch. But Jordan Love, I don't think he's their future star-studded quarterback that they were hoping for. And they have no weapons for him at all. So give me the Rams kind of in an easy win.
Let's move now to the Commanders at the Patriots. I got a low-scoring affair, game in the teens. I'm going to take the Commanders, though, on the road.
I'm also going to take the Commanders. It's going to be a big game for Sam Howell. I think this game's going to be a blowout. The Patriots are not good at all. I think Eric Bieniemy is just going to tear up the Patriots' defense.
You know, I'm changing my pick last minute again.
You just want to gain, some traction,
I'm tied for first. I have nothing to gain here by changing my pick, but I'm thinking about it. I mean, this is going to be a horrendous game. I'm not watching this game, to be honest. But, I don't know. Bill Belichick against a young QB, usually a recipe for a Patriots win, even with terrible roster. I mean, I can name, 2 Patriots defenders right now. J.C. Jackson is one of them. He's not good. But I think Belichick can find a way to expose this Commanders' O-line, get some more pressure on Howell, and force some mistakes. So give me the Patriots here. And then we'll move on to Colts at Panthers. This feels like a layup to me. I just don't see the Panthers winning 2 straight, so give me the Colts.
I'm going to take the Colts, too. The Colts need to win a game. They've had 2 straight tough losses to the Saints and Browns. And they score 20-plus points every game. I do not see the Panthers scoring 20-plus points. They don't have the greatest offense, but obviously the Colts' defense isn't great either. This game could be closer than people expect, but at the same time, I think the Colts are going to kind of win this game easily.
Yeah, the Colts, this is a layup for sure. They're going to win. Let's move over to Giants at Raiders. I think this is guaranteed. Take the under, no doubt.
Yeah.
Bet the under.
Well, the problem is the under is going to be 12.
Yeah, most def for sure. Raiders I have in this one. I like the Giants' defense a lot, and I think the Giants, are going to end up with probably a defensive score in this game, but I'm going to take the Raiders at home.
I'm also going to take the Raiders. This game is going to be one I will not watch. Tommy DeVito is starting for the Giants. I'm seeing your pick right now, Sawyer. I have no idea what
Don't hate.
Just let him explain.
So
I just want to hear it.
I'll let you explain, but the Raiders easily.
I'm predicting the top storyline for next week, which is Josh McDaniels is fired. because he's going to lose to Tommy DeVito and the Giants. Tommy DeVito he is New York, so why not lead the Giants to the win? Both these teams suck.
There's just no way. They wouldn't even let him throw the ball last week.
Well, they're going to have to let him throw the ball, and maybe if they let him cook, he'll cook. So let's see what happens.
He's the Syracuse product. We'll see how he does.
Exactly. He was good at Syracuse, too.
Yeah. I don't know if
also,
that's a
don't
flex.
say Syracuse. That's terrible.
Syracuse?
You said Syracuse.
Syracuse.
It's Syracuse.
Syracuse?
It's like syrup.
Syracuse.
Sarah.
What are you talking about, Sterling?
Syracuse.
Syracuse. He knows what's up, dude.
Sarah?
Yeah, it's a Y.
It's Sarah.
Syrup.
As a dude with an S and a Y in his name,
Syrup.
I know how to say it. It's Syracuse.
This East
Did you say
Coaster.
syrup?
Syracuse.
Did you say
East Coast.
syrup or syrup?
Syrup.
Okay, you said syrup. Next point. He just disregarded saying
Because
Syracuse.
syrup's Canadian.
He's an East
All right,
Coaster.
dude. I'm an East Coaster too, but
No,
You're
yeah.
not an East Coaster. That does not count.
I'm like, there's Pittsburgh's like East Coast a little bit, Midwest a little bit.
That's-
It's
I
like an
don't
in
think-
between.
I don't know about that.
I think it's an in between.
Pittsburgh's its own thing.
Yeah,
Y'all are
true. That
weird.
is true. I can tell you my language and no one would understand it, so I'll
Exactly.
stay away from that. We're gonna move to the Sunday night game. Really good game. Bills at Bengals. Kind of, you think of this game, see some bad flashbacks from last year with DeMar Hamlin going down. Hopefully all goes good this game for sure. I think the Bengals are really hot right now. The Bills have looked real shaky all season long. I'm going to take the Bengals.
I'm also going to take the Bengals. The Bills, if they lose this game, they're going to be 5-4. I don't know what's going on with the Bills. I feel like losing Tremaine Edmonds or something maybe have screwed them on defense. Obviously, they lost Matt Milano, one of the better linebackers in the league. Yeah. But I think the Bengals are going to win this one pretty easily.
I got the Bills in this one. Second biggest storyline of the week is DeMar Hamlin. I'm sure no matter what, we're going to see about 18 posts about that.
Yeah, for sure.
But give me the Bills to bounce back here. They probably should have lost to the Bucks, but they got a long week to prepare for the Bengals here. I think they pull out the win. Then we're going to go back a step because Geno apparently hates the NFC East, and we're going to pick on Eagles and Cowboys, where I have the Eagles. Like we said earlier, Cowboys can't play against good teams. I don't know what's wrong with them. But I just don't think they can keep up with the Eagles, especially with that Eagles defense.
I'm also going to take the Eagles. I think this is a game where the Cowboys just get demolished because this is also in Philadelphia, so it's going to be an insanely tough environment for the Cowboys. Eagles fans hate the Cowboys. And I think the Eagles are kind of going to expose the Cowboys once again and show the fans that the Cowboys are pretty overrated.
My bad for skipping this one. In my head, I just remember we talked about this earlier. Cowboys against a good team, it's a guaranteed loss.
Yeah.
We're going to move over to the Monday night game. I didn't miss one this time. Chargers at Jets, game at MetLife. Chargers, they look, anytime you want to say the Chargers look good, they're probably going to lose. But I'm going to take the Chargers with this pick. Jets, still just a little too shaky on offense for me. I don't need to hear the Zach Wilson's quote of 24 seconds, not a problem, or whatever.
I'm going to take the Jets. The Jets have played very well in primetime games this year. They won that primetime game against the Bills on Monday night. They played well against the Chiefs on that primetime game, which they honestly should have won because of a BS call. And I think this is their third one of the year. So give me the Jets. The Chargers are like a very weird team. They're coached by Brandon Staley, so, just give me the Jets, honestly, and a little bit of an upset.
I actually don't hate that argument. That almost swayed me, but I changed too many picks last minute. So I got to stick with Herbert and the Chargers. Herbert looked good last week against, again, a terrible Bears defense.
Jets have a great defense.
Yeah, Jets do have a great defense, so that's a little disconcerting. But I'm going to stick with the Chargers here over the Jets in primetime.
We're now going to move over to our segment of our fantasy start sits for the week. I'm going to go first with my starts. Kind of did this last minute. Deontay Johnson start, coming back from injury in his second week back. The targets were there last week. A few drops early on, but I think he's going to get it together. Start him. I also like Sam Howell against the Patriots. Look for him if you're in one of those deeper leagues, kind of like I am, where I think I might be starting him in 2 leagues due to some Kirk Cousins and Justin Field injuries. He's my starter, so rock with him because I will be too. So you need some company. I got you. Also, C.J. Stroud. I think you got to go with him against the Buccaneers defense. A little bit of shaky defense. I like Stroud.
For my starts, my first start is going to be James Conner. He's facing the Browns. As you said, Geno, I think they're just going to pound the run. Maybe even 30 carries for James Conner or something. But it always seems that James Conner just tears up the Browns, as we saw when he was in Pittsburgh. I could see that happening. My second start is going to be Gardner Minshew, as we were talking about earlier. They're facing the Panthers defense, which isn't not great at all. But I think Gardner Minshew will throw for a decent amount of touchdowns, maybe even a rushing touchdown. He'll maybe run a read option. Shane Steichen will call that. He has ran for a few rushing touchdowns. And my final start is Josh Jacobs facing the Giants. I think he'll have a pretty big game because they kind of just have to hand it off to him. I mean, he hasn't done great this season at all, but the Giants did just lose one of their defensive front members, Leonard Williams. So we'll see how Jacobs does, but those are my starts.
For my first start, I'm going to go with Amari Cooper. I know that sounds weird with P.J. Walker probably starting again for the Browns, but he does have 8+ targets in every game with P.J. Walker. You might remember P.J. called Jacoby Brissett, and Brissett told him if Cooper wins off the line, just throw it to him. So that's pretty much what P.J.'s doing. Obviously, can he actually get him the ball is a good question. I'm going to hope he can. So start Amari Cooper there against a bad Arizona defense. My next start is going to be Dalton Kincaid. This is a little bit of a layup. No Dawson Knox. No Dawson Knox. I wrote Dalton Knox. That was stupid. But no Dawson Knox. Kincaid's been great without him. And this is a Bengals defense that's pretty vulnerable to tight ends in fantasy this year, giving up a lot of touchdowns. So start him. And then lastly, Rachaad White sneakily has 15+ points in back-to-back weeks. And more importantly, at least 6 targets in back-to-back weeks, which is obviously great for a running back. So if he can get that receiving work, that'll be great for him. And the Texans' defense is solid, but not great. I think, like I said, I have the Bucs in this game, so I think they might be up, which means they'll be running the ball with Rachaad White. And I'll actually give you one more bonus one that I just looked at now. Ramondre Stevenson against the Commanders, who just traded away Montez Sweat and Chase Young in what should be an ugly game. That feels like a start right there.
We're going to move on to our sits. Hurts me to say this one. Geno Smith. He spells Geno the right way, Geno. He's going up against the Ravens. I think this is just an easy. He's a type of guy where you might have to start him in one of those bigger leagues. Keep him on the bench for sure. Brandon Cooks against the Eagles. I think the Eagles secondary. I think the Cowboys will be behind in this one, so they're going to be thrown a little bit. But, Cooks is one of those guys. You're going to be looking in to put him at your flex. Keep him on the bench this week, I think. And James Cook, I just don't think he's worth the hype. I really, and a lot of people are on him right now. Bengals game, I see this just kind of being a passing affair. I think the run's going to stay away from him in this game.
Going into my sits, my first sit is also Seahawk being Kenneth Walker. The Ravens defense, is insane. They have some great linebackers, a great front, great DBs as well. I think they're just going to shut Walker down. I think the Seahawks are just going to have to rely on passing the ball, which I don't think will work. My second start is going to be Pacheco. I think the Dolphins will shut him down as well. That's going to be a very pass-heavy game for both teams. And my last start is receiver George Pickens. George Pickens. I hate to say this because George Pickens is low-key a beast. He's a beast, but I don't know why. I just feel like the Titans' pass defense is going to shut him down, even though the Titans' pass defense isn't good.
I don't think it's that. I think it's a weird thing that just Pickens is... I don't know if there's a game that he has had more than 6 catches. He's not really getting the targets. Last game, I believe, only 2 catches, and one of them was the touchdown. That was still unbelievable that he made that a touchdown. But yeah, I think he's just really not getting the targets, so I think it's a valid sit, especially for a Thursday night game. If you're contemplating not playing a Thursday night guy, I always like to stay away from the Thursday night dudes.
Yeah, speaking of Thursday night dudes, I'm going to lead off with Najee Harris. This is also kind of a layup.
Yeah,
but he actually has been sneaky good. He's had, I think 10 points 2 weeks ago.
He's been running harder for sure, which is a good sign to see, but fantasy...
Yeah, he might be convincing some people to stick him back in their lineup after a couple solid weeks, but the Titans have a good front seven. I still think Jalen Warren's the better back, and I think the coaching staff should realize that and run Warren more. So I'm sitting Najee Harris. Next, Jordan Addison, unfortunately. He's been going off with no Justin Jefferson, but with Kirk Cousins going down, I just don't know if the production's going to be there. Obviously, Jaren Hall is going to want to find him, but I think T.J. Hawkinson might be the guy he leans on more just as a bigger target. And the Falcons' pass defense is pretty solid. back there, so I would sit Jordan Addison. And then lastly, Keenan Allen. Obviously going against a really good Jets defense with Sauce Gardner, Bryce Hall, great back seven. I do think the Chargers are going to win this game, like I said, which would mean less passing involved, less Keenan Allen. So I don't feel great about this, but I'm going to sit Keenan Allen this week.
That was our final segment of the show, so that will do it for episode 3 of Sports Talk Trio. Again, thank you for listening. I'm Drew Pieschalski. I was joined by Sawyer Goldwein and Geno DeFrank. Look out for maybe a college basketball episode coming later this next week. So, thank you for listening.